it must have been in the 30s. I would listen to bands on the radio, and of course we didn't have any high school band at that time. And I didn't think too much about music other than my mother played piano, and also she played a ukulele, which was the big thing when she was in college at Georgia State Normal College for Women, sort of the ragtime era, and they played ukuleles and so on. But I really wasn't too interested in that. And then there was a brass band came up to a revival meeting out in Bishop, and they had a lot of horns, all brass. They had tubas and peck horns, French horns, trumpets, and I was intrigued by the trumpet. So I talked my dad into buying me a trumpet, and I played a little bit on it just without any lessons. I could play some bugle calls on it, and but I learned to read a little bit of music with my mother. And then I was about 14, 15 years old. The Navy school came into Athens, and my dad called over there and to find out if they had a guy that could teach me how to play trumpet. And they recommended a guy named Gunnar Sorensen, who had played with a big band that was very popular back then. The name of the group was Freddie Slack and his orchestra. And so he gave me some lessons, and I progressed in doing that and really liked it. And then I heard Louis Armstrong play, and I was really intrigued by that. And when I was about 14, my aunt, who lived in Atlanta, worked for the National Bank of Georgia, called me and said, Louis Armstrong's coming in with his band. This was about 1942. And said, I'll get tickets, and you come up and stay with me, and say we'll go see Louis Armstrong on Saturday night. He had a big band. And my dad left me over to the bus station in Athens, and I was sitting there waiting on the next bus to come, and this bus pulled up, and a big, tall, black guy got out, and he had a little insignia on there about bass, and it was Orville Shaw who played bass with Armstrong. He was about 16 years old. Hell, he wasn't much older than me. And then they opened the door, and several guys got out and went to the restroom, and there was Armstrong. And I walked over there, and I said, Mr. Armstrong, I'm waiting on the bus now to go see you play tomorrow night. He said, no need to wait on that bus. Said, you can just ride with us. So I rode up there with them, and he dropped me off at the bus station, and my aunt was meeting me there anyway. So anyway, I got to see that, and that was really something. But I first started playing. I went to school at Georgia Military College in Milledgeville and played in the band there, in the marching band. And then they had a 14-piece orchestra called the GMC Cadet Orchestra. And we played on a radio station at Christmas in 1945, and did a show there, and we played all Harry James arrangements. And that was a real thing to play. But after I got out, I played with a guy from Havana named Almeida, and it was the Almeida Latin American Orchestra, and it played a lot of rumbas and congas and stuff. And it was the typical orchestra back then was you had a piano, which he played piano, and then they had about 3 bongos and about 6 or 8 conga drums, and the way they tuned the drums, they had goatskin heads, and they would light a candle on them and get them warm and have it tuned up that way. But anyway, everybody wore this crepe paper junk on their arms, and they were doing all this stuff while they were playing. And I played. I was on the horn. Well, no, excuse me. They had a piccolo, not a piccolo, flute, and flute was big in Latin music at that time. But then I played with. There was a guy. Can't remember his name because I can't remember a lot of things now. But he was the nephew of Louis Prima, and he said, "You want to play with Prima this summer?" I said, "Yeah." So he said, "I work with handling the equipment," and said, so he called him and said, "Come on down." So I played a fourth trumpet part. They had four trumpets, 5 saxophones, 4 trombones, and full rhythm, and had a couple of lady singers. And then I played about 6 weeks with them, and then I got out of that, and I came on back to school, and then I got a scholarship in the music department at the university based on playing first chair for this guy who used to play with the Goldman Band. And I'm trying to think of the band director. His name was Harris Mitchell. He was a French horn player, and he gave me the scholarship, and it was $39 a quarter back then, and I had to pay the tuition, and when they got the grades back at the end of the quarter, they sent the check back to my dad along with the grades. And so we were getting ready to do a concert, and a guy named Sonny Rollins from Jacksonville called. His dad had played for years, and Sonny got up a group, and this drummer I knew had called me to see if I wanted to play. So we played every brass rail on every beach around, and I just left school. Then I played a little baseball, which incidentally is a tough instrument.